Yep. Let me do this. Hey, everybody, what's going on? So, I want to thank you guys for tuning in on such a late notice. It is getting a little late for some of my viewers out there. As always, I like to start off my video by saying I want to thank the essential workers out there, the nurses, doctors, scientists, anybody that has to be working at this time right now. We're all rooting for you, and we're all wishing you the best. As always, wash your hands before every meal and after every meal. Wash your hands after every bathroom use. Just, carry hand sanitizer with you, and, just be smart about it. And for the ones that are quarantined, hopefully you guys are enjoying your time with your loved ones right now, and, you guys are having a good time and just enjoying the time you have with each other. So, I'm going to start this video off really quick. I want to just get into it because we have a lot to cover. But thank those people that are working right now. They deserve us every credit as what we're going through right now. So here we go. So what if you haven't figured out, round one is over. It just ended a little while ago, about 5 minutes ago. So round one is done. Um, and as always, it's an exciting time. So we're just gonna go through the recaps here. If you guys didn't catch it, so here we go. We're going to start with Cincinnati. No surprise. Joe Burrow, quarterback. It was meant to be. So that was easy. And then Chase Young, defensive end from Ohio State. He is now a Redskin. So he was easily number two. And then you have Jeff Okuda, the corner from Detroit, or he's now a Detroit Lion from Ohio State. So that was a no surprise, no brainer either. And then Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle for the Giants. Now, here was kind of an interesting pick. As I mentioned, I think it was Monday. I did mention a few times, if you have a chance to draft Andrew Thomas, don't overthink it. Draft him. He's a good offensive tackle. Don't overthink it. And this was sort of a 50-50 because this was either going to be the Giants were going to get insurance protection for Daniel Jones or they were going to go Isaiah Simmons. They ended up getting protection for Daniel Jones. So Andrew Thomas is now a Giant. The first surprise of the draft came at number 5. Tua Tagovailoa, a quarterback out of Alabama. He is now a Dolphin. So I guess their mantra worked. Tank for Tua, and they got their guy at 5. So I think this was one of those cases where Brian Flores just had to take a shot. And if it comes back that he gets hurt, then it's just it's somebody put it best. You pass on Tua, you get fired. If you take him, he gets hurt, you get fired. So you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. So the only way this pick works is if he just comes in and becomes a Pro Bowler and no pro like right away. So that's the only way I can see this working. And then 6, the Chargers, they found a replacement to Philip Rivers. The replacement is Justin Herbert. We have a comment, Carla. Hi, Carla. Justin Herbert is the replacement to Philip Rivers. So, um, in my mocks, I did have them take an offensive lineman because I don't think a quarterback, you know, okay, you got yourself a quarterback, but I think it's a good thing that he's mobile because if Philip Rivers almost died behind that offensive line, it's a good thing that Justin Herbert's mobile because he might evade a little bit more defenders than Philip Rivers. We have another comment here. Jonathan, go Raiders. That's right, man. Go Raiders. Let's see here. So Justin Herbert to the Chargers. Derek Brown is a Panther. I had that. So, I mean, that was kind of at that point, it was either Isaiah or Derek, but I guess they want to rebuild from the trenches, which is probably the smart way to go. So Derek Brown is now a Panther. He's going to be chasing Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Matt Ryan. So let's see what the young kids got. That's actually an exciting pick for the Panthers. 8 was where there's always a term. You get served some nice food on a silver platter. Well, this was Arizona's time. They drafted Isaiah Simmons. This was either going to be, again, like a New York Giants situation. They were either going to go offensive lineman to draft, offensive lineman to protect Kyler Murray, or they were going to address the defense. So they decided, why not just get the best defensive player available at that time? Isaiah Simmons at 8 was a perfect pickup for the Cardinals. So that was a great pickup by the Cardinals. That's pretty much an A+. I mean, you ask anybody, that's an A+ pick. At number 9, this is where Isaiah Simmons was projected to go to the Jaguars, but because they did miss out by one slot, they decided, well, we got to find a replacement for Jalen Ramsey. So they got C.J. Henderson, corner out of Florida, which is kind of weird because I think Jalen Ramsey is from Florida as well. So they just replaced them. This was a cool draft. It's just it's just weird to say that they replaced another corner from Florida with a Florida corner again. So it's just one of those things. But they got their guy C.J. Henderson at 9, so that's always a good pickup. And then the Browns, I did mention, offensive tackle. For them, it just came in the form of Jedrick Willis from Alabama. He is now a Brown. He played right, but he's going to make the transition to left, which he can do anyway. So that's what they needed. They were one of the worst offensive line units in football last year, the Browns. So they just got better with one offensive lineman. I mean, this guy is probably their best offensive lineman other than J.C. Treader, the center. But even then, this is the reason why they were pretty bad. The Jets was kind of interesting. I thought they were going to go wide receiver. I thought they were going to really get some help for Sam Darnold, but they did the move by choosing Mickey Becton, the offensive tackle from Louisville. And, that's protection for Sam Darnold. You're going to protect your franchise quarterback. So there is no question in my mind now that Sam Darnold is the franchise quarterback for the Jets. They got his protection. I think early tomorrow, I think they'll get a receiver. I mean, I think that's still a need for them. But to get a athletic lineman like Mickey Becton, he wowed everybody at the combine. So, I mean, I think this is a good pick. I like the pick. So, other than that, I mean, good pick by the Jets. And here we go for Jonathan. With the 12th pick, the Raiders selected Henry Ruggs, the wide receiver out of Alabama. This was sort of a type of deal because you had 3 receivers to choose from. And I think if you go to the majority of people, like, mock draft experts and general managers, if you were to tell them, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, or Henry Ruggs, if you had the 12th pick, who would you take? I think if you asked 31 general managers, I think 31 of them would have not said Henry Ruggs. I think this was one of those. I think it was just one of those picks where they believe that they need to find a Tyreek Hill. In a sense, they need to find a Tyreek Hill for that offense. They need speed at the wide receiver, which is what they do lack. Tyrell Williams is good. Hunter Renfrow is a slot guy. I mentioned Tyrell Williams. He's a good receiver, but he's not as fast. And then Nelson Aguilar's coming in. He's not going to be taking over anytime soon. Or who knows? Maybe he'll have a bounce back year. Who knows? But Henry Ruggs, I don't know. I mean, it's a wait and see type of thing. We have a comment here by Jonathan. He loves it. He loves the Ruggs pick. So I guess in a sense, I mean, just looking over social media and looking over, everything, a handful of guys love it, like Jonathan here, and another handful was, they hated it. So, you're in the middle. There was one thing I read. I think one person put out there, getting Ruggs. If Mike was still a draft analyst and he had Ruggs as the number 1, everyone would be on his nuts. I mean, that's the thing, though. He's not a draft analyst anymore, Jonathan. He is a general manager. Like, I don't know if you ever, I don't know what that term, how that term goes, but sometimes you can do too much with very little, and sometimes you can do very little with too much. The Raiders had 2 first round picks, and they did what it seems like very little. And I'll get more into that later, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, there was one comment I read that, I think the Raiders have a better chance of stubbing their toe in a cactus in the middle of the desert in Arizona and getting struck by lightning than Henry Ruggs ever being a number one wide receiver. Then there's another person out there that believes that Henry Ruggs is what the team needs. So, I mean, again, 50-50. And we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I have no choice but to root for him now. He's a Raider. So, welcome, Henry. I wish you the best, man. And give you a heads up, a lot of eyes are going to be on you because you're going to be the guy that all eyes are on you. So, good luck, my man. Um, then the Buccaneers. This originally became this was San Francisco's pick, but ruthless fans, yeah, that's the thing. Raider Nation's weird, man. They're weird like that. So I can tell you right now, I think I was about to get jumped by my brother today because he had this look on his eye that it wasn't pretty, man. It wasn't pretty. So I mean, I'm kind of kind of skeptical if I want to watch rounds 2 and 3 with him because I think he might kill me by the end of this draft. So Buccaneers traded up. They got Tristan Wirfs, the offensive tackle out of Iowa, protection for Tom Brady. Solid pick. Again, I think if Tua was there, I think they would have gone with Tua. Unfortunately, he went to the Dolphins. This happens, so they get Tristan Wirfs, who's a amazing left tackle from Iowa. So I mean, good pickup by Tampa Bay. Then the 49ers went at 14. They chose Javon Kinlaw, which I told my buddy George, like, hey, this is your pick. Get used to hearing his name. And he didn't want to believe me, but here we go. Here it is, Javon Kinlaw to the 49ers. Sometimes you just pick up on things, and sometimes you just get lucky like that. So, again, what it was is, there was talks about, them trading 13th completely and only go to have the 31st. And though, I mentioned this on Monday, if the 49ers just traded up just to trade back and get more picks, congratulations. You just played yourself. In the words of DJ Khaled, you're not giving up a player just to get more picks down the road. You might need them, but no, you don't do that. Because if that's the case, you would have just stuck with DeForest Buckner and just gone on with the rest. But Javon Kinlaw coming in to the 49ers, so that solidifies the line again. Then 15, the Broncos choose Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver out of Alabama. He was either 1A or 1B, depending on who you were talking to. He was, in some, the consensus number one wide receiver. And others, he was the number 2 wide receiver. But even then, for the Broncos to get him at 15, for him to slide like that, that's a steal. I think now with Drew Lock, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Melvin Gordon, and that offensive line coming together, like I mentioned earlier, I think the Broncos are going to compete to be the second best team in that AFC West. I have that feeling, and that defense is going to come back, and I think the Broncos are probably the second best team in that AFC West now, just off this, just this first round pick. So, but there's a lot of rounds to go, so we'll see. Atlanta. They went with AJ Terrell. I thought, they needed a replacement. They have faith in him. There were some people that believe that he's a true number one, and there's people that, took him off the board completely after that championship game and his combine performance. So the Falcons believed he is a number one, and they did need to find a replacement for Trufant. So good pickup. We'll see how that works out. The Cowboys, here we go. The Cowboys needs at this time were defensive back, pass rusher, maybe another offensive lineman, and a safety or a corner. They ended up going CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma. It's a great pick. I love the pick. So now it's Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. That's your three guys, and you got Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield to run the ball for you. But I unless there's a player that they get in the second round that could maybe help them defensively, then I don't know. Maybe they still have a chance at safety because there's a couple guys out there. So I mean, I'm gonna get into it at the end. My best remaining free agents. So I think that's at 17, you had to go with your gut and CeeDee Lamb to the Cowboys. I think now that just made them the favorites to win the NFC East, even if their defense gives up 30, because the offense can now score 31. That's just how I see it right now. Okay, here we go. Miami back on the clock again. I did have them taking an offensive tackle in my mock draft, just not the guy I thought. Austin Jackson, offensive tackle out of USC. He is now a Dolphin, so protection for Tua, which is always good. It's always good. As I mentioned right now, he could play left or right. Jonathan, that doesn't say much. Yeah, but now it just what it feels now. I think what he was, the comment by Jonathan. I think what he's saying is now, that doesn't say much. Like the Cowboys winning the NFC East. Well, that may be true to some, but I mean, I think now they have a clearer path to win the division because it's not like the Redskins are just gonna get, like wake up and be like, oh, we're gonna win. We're gonna be good now. Or it's not like the Giants are just all of a sudden magically gonna, have that Super Bowl magical run again. And now the Eagles are looking like, hey, our secondary was kind of bad, but we still went offense. But we'll get more into that. But I think now, no excuse. Dallas should come out of the NFC East. So 19, the Raiders' first round pick. Damon Arnett, the cornerback out of Ohio State. Now, I did a video halfway through this mock draft series. I did have him as one of my best available corners available. And you can check that out on the link after this video, after this live feed. Damon Arnett, I liked him. The problem with me was I don't think first rounder. I thought he was going to go, mid second to early third, only due to the fact that he did have off the field issues. Then he kind of, got better. But I'll put it to you like this: Damon Arnett is one of those guys where he got overshadowed by other players around his team. Chase Young was there. Malik Harrison was there. Then you had Jeffrey Okudah, who was there. Boza was there. Damon Arnett is a guy who loves man-to-man. He plays man-to-man. And he was a senior, so he had to come out. But if he was a junior and he decided to, stay one more year, there's no doubt in my mind had he had another year like he did this year, he would have been a first-round pick. He played with a broken wrist all season long. Mad respect. That is true. I do give that guy props because I know dudes that stub their toe, stub their pinky on a table, and they want to call out the rest of the day off. This dude played with a broken wrist, and he still managed to do his thing. So I am okay with it. I thought, maybe first was maybe a little too rich, but I think this is one of those cases where they liked him enough to where they wanted to get him. They wanted to make sure they got their guy, but Damon Arnett at 19, as I mentioned earlier, had it not been for those other guys, if he would have been a junior and stayed his senior year, he would have been, and he had another great year like he did this year, he would have been a top 10 player in next year's draft. It's just he's a senior. And, I think this is going to be great. So now when you look at the secondary now, you have Trayvon Mullen on the left. Arnett's going to start. I know Nevin Lawson's there, but I think right now between Damon Arnett and Nevin Lawson, I think Arnett gets the edge. we'll see. We'll see what happens at training camp. But now you have Mullen, Arnett, Demarius Randall, and Jonathan Abram. That's not a bad. I mean, we haven't had a good secondary in a minute, so that gives me enough hope to think that, hey, maybe they finally figured this out. So as far as that, grade wise, the Arnett, I'll give it a C plus, only due to the fact that I think he just got picked a little bit higher than what we all thought. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So here we go. Jacksonville at 20. K'Lavon Chaisson, linebacker, LSU. He's now Jaguar. So reports are saying that Yannick Ngakouk's time in Jacksonville is about to be done. It's just Jacksonville's asking for way too high of a price. Because the thing is, not only do you have to trade him, you have to re-sign him right away because he only has one more. He's tagged, so he only has 1 year on his contract. So you have to sign him right away. It's not one of those where you trade him and you can wait a couple years because he still has some time on his contract. No, you have to sign him the second you trade for him, for any team that does that. So I think if Yannick does leave, they found his replacement in Chaisson, who could play linebacker and who could play defensive end. And I like the kid. As I mentioned, I think this is one of those kids who could be down the road steal of the draft. And I think Jacksonville hit it. So, I mean, Jacksonville did a good pick with this. So, I mean, that's all I can say about it. Let's see. His asking price was way too high. Yeah, Yannick. Well, the Jaguars, they're asking for a first rounder. They're not going to get a first rounder, especially after the owner and the player had beef on Twitter. They went back and forth. I don't think that's possible now. So I think now what happens is any team that does have ammunition in the later rounds, like if you have multiple picks in the back ends of, like, let's say the second, third, even the fourth, I think someone will be intrigued to take Yannick at that situation. So that's my opinion. We'll see what happens. Jalen Reagor, I got to give a shout out to Roy, my buddy Roy, who's an Eagles fan. He actually called this pick, so I didn't even need to watch the TV. I didn't need to watch the draft to see that Jalen Reagor was going to be an Eagle. My buddy Roy called it right off the bat, and I got to give him props for that. Jalen Reagor, an Eagle. This is one of those picks where I thought corner or wide receiver, but they went with wide receiver. Jalen Reagor, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, his sophomore year, it was incredible. It's just his junior year, he was, the quarterback situation was not good. So now he's going to go from TCU to Carson Wentz. All right, that's pretty good. So he's going to be fine. He's going to be a nice addition. And then Vikings, they went Justin Jefferson. Well, they had to replace Stephon Diggs. So, Justin Jefferson's the guy to go with. So they believe in him. They thought that was a good enough pick to take him at 22. So now we'll see what happens. Now. So Justin Jefferson is now a Viking. The Chargers actually traded to New England to get this pick. So with the 23rd pick, the Chargers chose Kenneth Murray, linebacker out of Oklahoma. Originally, this was the Patriots pick. I had them taking a linebacker, and somehow the Chargers still proved me right that they chose a linebacker, Kenneth Murray. I think this was a good, solid pick. I thought it's a great pick. It's just who's blocking for Herbert. I mean, Trey Turner's there, Brian Balaga's there, Pouncey's there. You got your right side, but who's blocking his blind side? Unless magically he can start throwing with his left hand. But other than that, I mean, it's not to say that the Chargers can still walk away with an offensive lineman. It's just at 23, I guess at that point, best player available, Kenneth Murray. He's going to add more versatility to that defense. So that's actually kind of a scary thing to thought that the Chargers defense was already good enough. Now they just got a little better. So I got to give them props for that pick. That was a good pick. The Saints surprised everybody by taking Cesar Ruiz, the center out of Michigan, but as I mentioned, they already took McCoy from Texas A&M. I think what they're going to do is they're either going to move Ruiz to the guard position. Jonathan Avalos, they wanted him. Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, they traded up to get him. So I mean, but as I mentioned earlier, I mean, there's just times where you either draft for need or you draft best player available, and at this point, it was BPA. The Chargers got the best player available, so that was a good pickup. The Saints drafted Cesar Ruiz. I think they're going to go switch him to guard. Your offensive line is set now for the Saints, and your defense is going to come back even stronger. So this is it. If the Saints can't get it done, then Drew Brees only has 2 more years. After that, it's possibly retirement time. So we'll see. We'll see, and can't wait. Can't wait to see what the Saints do. That NFC South is going to be a very interesting division. I can't wait. I cannot wait. That's going to be so fun to watch. Then the 49ers. This is originally the Vikings pick, but they switched to the 49ers, and at 25, the 49ers selected Brandon Ayuke, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. They needed a wide receiver. They needed a number one. And with the rumors coming out that Marquise Goodwin might get traded, I think this was only right. I think in this situation, it was either going to be corner or wide receiver. But wide receiver, Arizona State, Brandon Ayuke. I mean, he was a late riser throughout the draft process, but he gets into the first, and this is the guy they wanted. So we'll go with it. Now, this pick, 26. Not only did they move out of their spot, they had to move out from 30 to 26, and I am talking about the Green Bay Packers. It kind of felt like I was in 2005 again. They went Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State. So, what? So it felt like it was 2005 because Aaron Rodgers is the same age as Brett Favre when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers now his new heir apparent is Jordan Love. I did not see that one coming. I did not see that coming at all. I thought that was a crazy pick, but I can understand why they did it. They're probably thinking life after Rodgers, which is probably not for another, I don't know, 3-4 years. So it's going to be a while before Jordan Love hits the field. But I mean, this is a we'll see type of pick. We'll see if it pans out down the road. And I know my buddy Jonathan, he loved Jordan Love enough to where, maybe they get him in the second or in the first, but it's just the Packers decided to Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. They found their next guy when Rodgers decides to, walk away from the game. So that's my reaction to this pick is, it's a we'll see type of pick. We'll see down the road if it works out for him. So I don't think anything of it right now other than, when they went from 30 to 26, my initial reaction was it's quarterback, but which one is it? And they went with Jordan Love. So, all right, that's it. At 27, my brother's a little upset because he had this guy in the 4th round, and Seattle decided to take him in the 1st round. Jordan Brooks, the linebacker out of Texas Tech. He's a good linebacker. It's just, a lot of people had him in the 3rd, 4th, heck, even low 2nd. But Seattle liked him enough that they took him in the 1st. So good instinct guy, not the most versatile like Kenneth Murray and Patrick Queen, but just the old school thumper. He knows how to blitz. He knows how to use his blitz advantage at the right time. And Seattle just, they had to compete with San Francisco. And the only way to compete that, defense for defense. So that's all there is to it. At 28, The Ravens select Patrick Queen, and you know how I mentioned on Monday, there's just teams that when they draft a certain position, you know that dude's gonna do good right away. Patrick Queen already gonna have a good career because he got drafted by Baltimore, and Baltimore always has lucks with wide receivers. So, or I'm sorry, linebackers. So, what more can I say? That's the new captain of the middle of the defense for the Ravens. I mean, now they got Matthew Judon, Patrick Queen is there. You know, the defense is still good, and they just found a guy who's gonna anchor the defense now. They found their captain, so I can't think of anybody better than for Patrick Queen to be the next captain, defensive captain for the Ravens. So that's a good one. The Titans. This was kind of an interesting one. Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle out of Georgia. Yes, you heard that right. The Georgia Bulldogs had two talented offensive tackles. It's just Isaiah Wilson. They thought he was going to go back, but he came out, and the Titans got him. I had them taking Austin Jackson, but Isaiah Wilson, I think in any other draft would have probably been a middle of the round pick. So for him to be a late first rounder, this was as good as it was going to get. And now the Titans got their replacement for Jack Conklin and Isaiah Wilson. So that's a good replacement to have, and we'll see how it goes from there. Miami, as I mentioned earlier, they did the switch. So they were at 30 now, and I don't want to butcher his name because it's a really, really long one, but I'll give him my best shot. Noah Igabonogany. Can't even say it. I'm not even going to attempt to say it again. Corner out of Auburn. He is now a Dolphin. He could play corner. He can play safety. I think the versatility is there for him. I think that's the replacement for Minka. So again, all what Miami did was get their guy and replace the guys they traded. So yeah, I know. Laugh at me all you want, guys. I'm not even gonna attempt to say his name again because this is his moment, and I don't want to butcher his name. So corner out of Auburn, that was a good pickup. So he's versatile, and we'll see where he goes from there. The Vikings at 31, as I mentioned earlier, they made the trade with San Francisco. I'm gonna get so much crap for that. So Vikings, 31, they took a corner. Jeff Gladney, TCU cornerback. Again, Xavier Rhodes is gone, so they needed to find his replacement, and they did. Jeff Gladney is one of the better corners out there, and that's a good pickup. To get him at 31 is almost a steal, so that's a great pickup by Minnesota. And then we get on to the Chiefs. Now, as I mentioned, the Chiefs had a lot of options to go. Defense, I thought they were going to go defense because, they kind of did need help defensively, or they were going to go running back because now LaShawn McCoy's gone. Do you trust Damian Williams? Do you trust the other running back to be your 3-down back? Apparently not. They went with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back out of LSU. So only one running back again in the first round, and this time it belongs to the Chiefs. Not the running back I thought. But again, I think what the Chiefs did is they went for they got need, and they got a guy that fits their system. He's a good running back. 32. I mean, again, any running back could have been there at 32, and it would have been a good pick. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this is a perfect fit for him. He's going to go to a team where he's going to be asked to block sometimes, and he's a really good blocker. And if they need the short, 3rd and 1s, he's a good back to get it to him. So I think the Chiefs did the right pick. They did a good pick here with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and that wraps up the first round. And there's still a lot of good players out there. Round 2 is tomorrow. I have a question about the Chargers' second pick. All right, go ahead, Jonathan. You can ask away. What's going on? Let's see. Well, he's typing his question. Like I said, there's a lot of prospects that's still out there that that are still first round grade. They just, that happens every year. There's players that have first round grade, first round talent. They just fall through the cracks, whether because it was a team needed this position or they just fall through the cracks. It's as simple as that. There's DeAndre Swift, the running back out of Georgia. He's still out there. Ross Blacklock, the defensive tackle out of TCU. He's still out there. As I mentioned, no safeties in this first round. That's kind of what I had originally, and I did get slack for it. Like, there's going to be a safety taken, and I just didn't see it, because the way it was shaping up to be. So Xavier McKinney, he's out there. Grant DePlete's out there. AJ Espenza is out there. Yuter Matos Gross is out there. T. Higgins is out there. Jalen Johnson's out there. Just a lot of these guys. Zach Bond, who's probably one of my favorite linebackers in this draft class. Jonathan Taylor's out there. Shidnall is out there. Dobbins, the running back out of Ohio State's out there. Joshua Jones is out there. I mean, Christian Fulton, he's out there. Jeremy Chin, he's out there. And we hit the questions in. You said that the Chargers picked the best player available, so why would they move up again to go get the best player instead of a need for them? In some cases, some teams do this. They just feel like they need to have the guy. And when you don't think you have the pick, you're going to do everything in your power to get your guy. For example, Mike Mayock today. The Henry Ruggs, I'm going to call it now. Down the road, this was a Gruden pick. Anybody that wants to challenge me on this? Challenge me on this. That Henry Ruggs was John Gruden's fingerprints all over it. However, the Damon Arnett pick, that was a Mike Mayock pick. And he had the pick to take him at that time. So when you want a guy, you're going to take your guy no matter what. In the Chargers case, they knew they had to give up something. They had to give up their second rounder to get back into the first. And at this point, New England couldn't say no. They need help. Because Bill Belichick's, for some weird reason, his first rounders just don't pan out. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I just can't put a finger on it. So, but the Chargers really, now it shows that the Chargers really wanted Kenneth Murray, but they were going to take him at 6. So they were going to try to find a way to get him. And the second he started falling more and more, they realized this is probably the time to trade up. And they made the trade. And when you want somebody that bad, you're going to do everything in your power to get them. They gave up, a second rounder and some other picks. So they got their guy, though. So as long as he pans out, doesn't look stupid at all. So it's just one of those things. Sometimes you get your guy where you want him, and sometimes you got to make a couple moves to get your guy. This is one of those cases. I thought they should have stayed. Maybe they could have gone a linebacker down the road or maybe another offensive lineman because, as I mentioned earlier, I really thought they were going to stick with Tyrod. And now, let's get one thing straight. It's still a quarterback battle. As good as Justin Herbert is, Tyrod Taylor is no pushover either. He's not the best quarterback, but he's not the worst. And if you're really going to send your rookie out there and your best offensive lineman is Trey Turner, the right guard, you got an aging Brian Bulaga at your right tackle and Pouncey's your center. At this rate, I would probably put Tyrod and still build for the future. That's my thing. So we'll see what happens there. But, as I mentioned, there's still a lot of good guys out there. As I mentioned, Jeremy Chin, Denzel Mims is out there. Antonio Winfield Jr. is out there. Michael Pittman, Trayvon Diggs. Somebody asked me earlier, who do I think the next quarterback's going to be? I think it's going to be Jacob Eason. I think he's going to be the next quarterback taken out of Washington. We just don't know where. And, there's a lot of good guys out there left. So, second, third rounds tomorrow. The Raiders don't have a second, which kind of sucks. I thought we were going to trade one of those first rounders to get some players, but it didn't happen that way. And now we just got to wait till pick 80. And, we got 3 third rounders. So, for my brother out there that's probably watching this right now, we got Do you think the Raiders will pick up a second rounder? If so, who? The only way I see we trading up to the second round, we got to give up 2 third rounders. And to be honest with you, it's not even worth it at this point. It's not worth it. Just stick to your thirds, man. Like, your best shot was to trade from your first. But if they do trade up to the second, whatever the case may be, I think it's gonna be pass rusher. I don't think it's anything else but pass rusher, and especially at the linebacker spot. I think what it is they need a pass rusher, and there's Zach Bond, there's Jeremy Chin, there's Josh Uche, the linebacker out of Michigan. Jordan Brooks would have been great, but that's not going to happen anymore. There's Malik Harrison, there's Troy Dye, there's Willie Gay Jr., there's Akeem Geathers Jr. So there's still some linebackers out there, and I think that's what it is. They're going to need a pass rusher linebacker. So actually, what's funny, Michael Pittman, I actually have him in my mock draft for the Raiders with the 3rd round pick. I don't know if he falls, but if he falls to the 3rd round and we get him, we need all the help we can at wide receiver because, last year our wide receiver group was just not that good. So, but I think that's what happens. If we do trade into the second, it's going to be for a pass rusher. More likely, linebacker. So, we'll see what happens. So, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today on a very late video. Tomorrow's round 2 and 3 starting at 4, I believe, and that is it. So we will see you guys tomorrow. Yeah.